This comment has my utmost respect in the sense that I was making a video where this user came out and said, this thing is on Twitter. It's not personal. Xbox is leaving the console business. And look at what they're doing. I know they've already confirmed the next console, but look at what it is that they're doing. They're leaving the console business. They're like, I have all these games on Xbox and I've gamed on Xbox for all these years and blah, 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 blah. So I made the video and I showed a lot of you on the channel, and you guys are like, what the heck is this guy talking about? Why would I want to actually, and the person suggested that Xbox gamers needed to move to PlayStation or PC. So I laughed. I said, why would an Xbox gamer, from what I know about the Xbox ecosystem, want to move to PlayStation when they already have access to PC, whereby Steam and Epic Games and Good Old Games already have at least a select number of PlayStation games, and PlayStation is not interested in bringing too many, according to Herman Holst, at least with the quality and a blah, 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 one single-player tentpole title. Those words came out of his mouth to investors. So this comment said, I've been hearing this, which is Xbox is leaving the console business, since at least 2015. Wow, that's a long time. You said the person in the tweet gave in to pressure, panicked, and gave up on Xbox. Pressure from the last round of Microsoft is leaving the console business right before the Series X and S came out. Now he's still trying to desperately justify that move. You can't be wick-wheeled with low self-esteem and be an Xbox customer. And I think this is simply because a lot of the, dirt that gets thrown the Xbox gamer way is one that just makes a lot of Xbox gamers pretty much go ahead and just laugh. Look at the continuation of the comment. Okay? He says, we get constant BS from every other platform and the media constantly. You have to have the backbone to look at the situation and judge it for yourselves. There was a very big Xbox aficionado who openly declared that they were going to leave and that Phil Spencer had, betrayed Xbox. Then, recently, they said, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize, I fell into the trap of this thing and blah, blah, blah. And so they came back, or apparently, I don't know what they were. Guys, I couldn't be bothered. But this was interesting to watch this movement. And I've said this before, and I used to get a lot of comments here on the channel, that a lot of the people who were telling me, oh, PlayStation isn't going to bring their games to Xbox, because Xbox taking their games there is actually devaluing the brand and all these things that have been said before, right? When you go back and you think about those comments and you think about it, I think a lot of these people were just more worried about what other people were thinking rather than what the platform was providing them from a perspective of what their money could actually bring in terms, what their money was buying for them, or what they were paying for, their bang for buck, value for money, something that Xbox is especially great at. That's, in my opinion, what was happening. They were way more concerned about everything else, other than the platform that they were playing on. And, it's hard. When there are 5,000 PlayStation podcasts, I guess, every Friday evening, they're all collating Tuesday evening, and all they collate about is to talk about how Xbox is doing everything wrong. That's all they just sit there and do. So once I started to watch some of the clips from these podcasts, shout out to user on Twitter, Astro Cyborg, who was pretty much getting a sense of what these podcasts would just do, I had to ask myself and say, are these folk really just walking away saying the things that they're saying and nobody is actually, calling them to account? And so our interests aligned. I had videos to make, and they had a lot of bogus dross to spew. So I pointed out exactly what the mirror looked like, or at least the information, and juxtaposed it with a lot of the things that they were saying and claiming. And it turned out to be a lot of these people have no clue what the Xbox business is actually about. They don't know what the Xbox business is about. They really don't. It's the wildest thing I've ever seen that these folk are very, very vocal about Xbox's business, but there are some real simple pieces that they are just not aware of, especially the most critical and the most important part of the business. It's got to be the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life. Wow. So looking at that comment, I'm like, okay, if they've been doing this since at least 2015 or maybe even far, longer, and they've been slinging their Xbox's way, as to their ecosystem and all of the above, I can see how a lot of Xbox users just sit quietly and just laugh at these folks because, man, trust me, they literally put their silliness on full display in many instances and in many cases. That's what happened. Now, a lot of them, I could have said, lost their credibility, but then I found out that there was no credibility to be, as a baseline in the first place, because the things that they portrayed and the way many of them, in a sense, championed things when PlayStation was actually, doing them, when they had criticized them in Xbox's case, was also very funny. This is the way the console conversation basically had gone. And there were Xbox people who lost a backbone because, I got to tell you, some personality types prefer, some level of social approval. They want everybody to pat them on the back. Yeah. While some are more, individual minded. Like the decision that they've made is a decision that they've made based on what they want. Not saying that, their decision is better than anybody else, but I'm just pointing out personality types in this instance. All right. I'm out. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I thought I'd highlight this. Peace out.